before you, first of all, you have to think. Give me the history of this patient. For example, if there's a 14-year-old kid brought to the emergency room in the middle of the night by his mother, and you suspect this kid has an appendicitis, and they called at 10 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock they finally get to the hospital, and you ask the mother, what took you so long? And she'll say, well, Sonny got hungry on the way, and we stopped to get a Big Mac. Well, let me tell you now, you don't need an MRI and CAT scan to know this kid does not have appendicitis. He's not going to want a Big Mac in the middle of the night with lower back quadrant pain on the way to the hospital. He's not going to want a Big Mac. So you can rule out appendicitis immediately. But I'm saying the first thing you do is think. What could this be based on the history? Based on the history. Second thing, you have to know how to use these hands. What do you call that? Use these hands and examine a patient. What do you call that? Palpation, that's right. You said that, didn't you? Palpation. Lay your hands on the patient and they can tell you a whole lot. If you push on that belly at one point, he says, ouch, you know, something under there is not quite right. If you tap on there and there's a tympanitic, you know, something is not quite right. If there's a shifting belt, you know, something is not quite right. So the second thing is, use your hands. Use your hands to examine the patient to determine what the diagnosis is without benefit of all of those, you know, those sophisticated, very expensive instruments, very expensive imaging. Third thing is that thing you wear around your neck to impress people. What do you call that? Stethoscope, right. You know, when I was a freshman student, I don't think I'd been in school for 2 days before I found a stethoscope and I put a stethoscope around my neck and started walking around downtown like I'm a doctor. This different. Why you that? You didn't say anything. You think you can impress somebody if you wear a stethoscope. And you have no idea what to do with it. That's all right, but you impress somebody and think patients are impressed. They see you come in with a stethoscope and a white coat on, they say he must be smart because he got a white coat and he got a stethoscope. But learn how to use that stethoscope to listen to things, even in the abdomen. Learn how to listen in the abdomen. If you have a high tinkling sound, it means there's an obstruction. If the abdomen is totally silent, that means you've got a paralytic ileus of some sort. So I'm saying those three things. Thinking, history and physical, history first, thinking, what could it be? Second, palpation, feel it, see what it's all about. And your osteopathic hands will tell you a hell of a lot more sometimes than that CAT scan MRI will tell you. And thirdly, of course, auscultation, learn how to use a stethoscope. But anyway, I'm saying I practice, it's really 54 years since I went into family practice. And these were the modalities that we had. But somehow, the paradigm has shifted. There was a dramatic shift evident by the life of Jobs, Steve Jobs, who died a few weeks ago. All of you have heard of him. If you have not heard of him, you certainly have made yourself available with the technology that he has developed. Does it make life easier for us as physicians? Somewhat. But should it replace this, and that stethoscope? There's a danger that there will be a greater reliance on technology than on history and physical examination. These are techniques that you should not forget about and should develop before you start depending on technology. Now, I say I practiced in rural Georgia for a number of years, but I've benefited of modern-day technology, and I dare say that my patient got along probably about as well as the patient that get along today. As a matter of fact, in rural Georgia, a physician was a physician, a doctor was a doctor. So I did every babies. I did surgery. Minor surgery, I did major surgery, minor surgery. I took care of diabetes, took care of hypertension. I took care of a lot of things that benefited from modern-day technology. I challenged my two sons. I have two sons who are obstetricians, by the way. And I challenged them. I said, I'm willing to put my fetal and maternal morbidity and mortality up against yours any day. For example, I said, what's your C-section rate? They said, well, natural norm, the norm is about 15%. 15% of the pregnant women wind up with C-sections. I said, well, why? 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 Does anybody have any idea why there are so many C-sections? Does anybody have any idea what the principal indication for C-section is today? Anybody have heard of it? You students now, you secondary students, you've had a little bit of OB, haven't you? You heard about it? Well, let me tell you what it is. I thought you would never ask. Previous section. Got that? Previous section. The indication for cesarean section today, the principal indication is cesarean section. What's the indication? Previous section. Okay. What was the indication for the first section? That's where history comes in. Just ask, why did you have the first C-section? Well, if you said I had some previa, or I had rupture, or I had total footling, then that was the reason. Then if that does not exist now, you don't need to do that C-section. But we do them now because they had a previous section, and we don't bother to ask why. Yes, we don't bother to ask why. Just do it. Do the section. It was a great experience to be practicing down in Georgia. Would you believe there was a time when I went into a patient's room and there was nobody there but me and the patient? Us. And they say, well, did you practice quality medicine? Well, it all depends on how you define quality. If a patient comes to see me and they're feeling bad and I make them feel better, so while the patient is good, that was a quality visit, wasn't it? I feel better now, you know? That's quality. If I get paid, that's another quality. So today, it's not as simple as you as a physician have to satisfy the patient. When you go into a patient's room now, who goes in you? Accountant? A lawyer? That visualization person? That PSR person to see whether you're doing the right thing at the right time? That third-party payer? The regulators, Mr. Stark, Mr. Oxley, all those people, Mr. Hitler, all those people go to me. Every time you go to a patient room now, all those people are looking at you to make sure that you're doing the right thing and do not make a mistake. So, in the eyes of a lawyer, the patient was happy, they felt better, I was happy, got paid. But the lawyer said, wait a minute though, you missed something. You didn't get that MRI, so you did not see that little nickel diverticulum that was going to give this patient problems in another 20 years. Therefore, I'm going to sue you. So many of us then will do these things, not because the patient needs it, not because it's part of the diagnosis, not because it's going to somehow determine what kind of treatment they're going to get, but we do it because we say, we might get sued. Is that a legitimate reason? Is that a way that you would want to practice? Based on what the patient actually needs, what your diagnosis is based on history, physical, and you may get some laboratory stuff along with it, but your diagnosis then is made on objective criteria, and not on the fear that I might do something wrong, I might miss something, and get sued. Well, I practiced then, it was me and the patient. Patient was happy, I got happy. But I lived long enough to know that it's not going to be like that anymore. Because Steve Jobs, and some of his ilk, they have brought technology into existence that you cannot ignore anymore. I'm saying, I want you to be reminded of the fact that unless you are cautious, unless you learn well the concepts of the history and physical, the technology is going to supplant the practice of medicine as I do it, and I would like for you to know it. It will take the care and the art out of the practice of medicine. It will be supplanted by technology. You do know that now a radiologist never has to see a patient, never has to touch a patient. They can make a diagnosis in California, and they're here in Florida. Do you know there's instant transmission of images from one coast to the other coast? Matter of fact, it can be international, and diagnosis can be made without those who make the diagnosis ever seeing the patient. Is that scary? Somebody in California is going to say, you need your gallbladder out. And they haven't seen you, you've only seen a picture. Might be the wrong picture.